Posted by you/throw sister. I'm a 23-year-old child-free woman, and my sister is 30 with a 4-year-old son. She's a single mom, her ex-husband is not in the picture and has no contact with her or the child. I'll get straight to the point, that kid is a nightmare to be around. It's not his fault, it's my sister's fault. He clearly has behavioral and mental health disorders, even at his young age. However, my sister is very ableist and refuses to accept that her son has problems. The kid goes into a bloody rage whenever something doesn't go his way, screams and cries when he's overwhelmed, and has meltdowns due to certain sounds and textures. Like I said, I don't blame the kid for these issues, but my sister's refusal to get him treatment or help makes the kid a nightmare to be around. As a result, I don't babysit him when my sister asks, or more like demands, that I do so. This causes a lot of fights between us and our family. I have a friend, a 23-year-old man, who's married to a wonderful 22-year-old woman, and they have a baby boy who just turned 1. Yes, they got married and had him young, but it's not my place to judge them. This past weekend, they asked me to babysit for them, and I agreed for a few reasons. Their child is calm, well-behaved, and generally a good toddler to be around. I love babysitting him. Also, they asked me nicely and understood that I might say no because I'm child-free. They were polite in their request. One thing about me is that if you ask me to do something politely, even if it's something I wouldn't usually agree to, I'd probably do it because you were nice and polite. So, for these reasons, I happily agreed to babysit the boy. My sister also asked me to babysit her son that day so she could have a day to herself, but I refused and told her I was already babysitting for my friends. She was pissed, to say the least. She made a few comments about how I was a jerk and not a good sister, but I thought she had dropped it after that. This past weekend, while I was watching the baby, my sister started banging on my door. I looked through the window and saw that she had her kid in a care bag with her, and I knew she was trying to drop him off and make me babysit. She was banging on the door, yelling at me, calling me heartless and a baby hater, while I was holding a baby, ironically, and telling me that I'd better open up and do my sisterly duties. I put the baby in a different room to keep him from getting scared by the noise and told my sister through the window to leave or I would call the cops. She cursed for a solid 5 minutes before she finally left. I had the whole thing recorded on my doorbell camera and sent it to the family group chat. Surprisingly, my whole family is on my sister's side. She keeps arguing with me about how I'd rather babysit a child not even related to me than my nephew. I reminded her that her kid is a nightmare to be around, but she keeps insisting that you help out for family. My sister has been cold since then and keeps sending me text messages trying to provoke me into arguing with her more. She's also started saying some pretty ableist and nasty things about my friend's wife. My friend's wife is on the spectrum and has BPD, and my sister keeps saying she should have been sterilized and never should have passed her issues on to her child. By the way, her child has shown none of the signs that autistic infants usually do, so I have no idea what my sister is talking about. I will admit that I do feel a bit guilty because I never considered babysitting my nephew, but I jumped at the opportunity to babysit my friend's child. My sister, dad, 66M, mom, 64F, and brother, 33M, are all calling me a jerk and saying that I'm just using the child-free label to avoid family responsibility. I need advice on how to get my family to see my perspective on this. How can I explain to them that the issue isn't the idea of babysitting, but the behavior of the child? Commenter. Why doesn't your brother or other family members babysit him? Ops response. In the words of my family, he already has his own family responsibilities, you have none. Yes, that's pretty much always their response when I ask why my brother can't babysit the kid. My brother also knows deep down that the kid is a nightmare, even though he tries to ignore it, just like my sister and parents do. His kids also don't like spending time with her son because he's had violent meltdowns and has hurt them before. The kids avoid him like the plague. I don't blame any of the kids in that situation. My sister's son clearly has behavioral and/or mental issues that cause him to react violently to overstimulation, which is not his fault. He needs help so he can develop ways to control his meltdowns and keep his emotions in check. My brother's kids, while mature for their age, are still children and don't fully understand why he acts the way he does, so they harbor resentment and dislike toward him. I feel bad for all the kids involved, nobody is winning. Update 3 days later. So, things have really hit the fan. My original post was about 3 days ago, and ever since that post, my sister's behavior has escalated. I tried to talk to her about getting help for my nephew, but she kept screaming at me every time I brought it up. She used a lot of derogatory terms towards people with mental illnesses and disabilities, terms I won't repeat here. That wasn't the only escalation. She started coming to my door several times a day, starting 2 days ago, the day after I made my original post. She banged on my door, screamed, cried, cursed, the works. She brought my nephew each time, and he always looked so confused and defeated. He was too tired to react or have a meltdown like he normally does around loud noises, and it broke my heart to see that on my doorbell camera. I wasn't at my house, I was staying with my friend and his wife. I took the advice of a commenter who suggested putting some physical distance between me and my sister. They said I was welcome to stay as long as I wanted, as long as I helped out with some house chores and childcare while I was there, which I thought was more than fair. So, I'm currently staying in their guest room. I'm still with them, even though my sister isn't much of a problem anymore. Many will be glad to know that my sister won't have parental rights over my nephew soon. She dropped him off at a safe haven site in the middle of the night, and I only found out via phone call at 2 in the morning. My nephew is currently with my parents. Social services placed him with them, and he's said to have mandatory therapy. In my state, not sure if it's different in others, if a child is abandoned in any way, safe haven or not, a physical and mental health examination is conducted. Other than being a little underweight, my nephew was physically healthy. He wasn't being physically abused, as some people were worried about. However, it was clear he needed mental health support, so he'll be starting therapy sessions soon, as mandated by a caseworker. We are not looking for my sister. After she dropped off her son, she left. She had quit her job a few weeks back, sold her car, and even sold her house a few weeks ago. She had been renting a place, so this was clearly planned. In my personal opinion, she intended to abandon her son the day I was babysitting my friend's baby, which is why she had such a nuclear reaction. She did leave a note, saying she couldn't do it anymore, that she met someone, and that she doesn't want to be a mom to my nephew anymore. In her note, she said she deserves a normal kid, not a burden like my nephew. I seriously hope my sister doesn't have any more kids with this mystery person she mentioned, but it seems like she's running off to start a new life and family. She still has 30 days to reclaim rights over my nephew, but it doesn't look like she'll do that. Time will tell. As I mentioned, I'm still staying with my friends because I was worried my sister would do something. My parents and brother have also been blowing up my phone and coming to my house, switching between apologies and blaming me for this. They think that maybe if I had babysat that day, she wouldn't have done this, but I believe she wanted me to babysit so she could go through with it. I'm not mad at them for blaming me. I understand that my sister is still their family, and they're rightfully in shock and want someone to blame. They're human, and I know people can be cruel sometimes while going through shock and grief. So, yeah, that's life right now. I'm currently sitting on the couch with my friend's baby while my friend is at work and his wife does a quick grocery run. She was going to take the baby with her, but I insisted on watching him so she wouldn't have to deal with the car seat in the very stormy weather we have in our area right now. This update is all over the place, and I feel like I'm rambling. There's still a lot of unknowns regarding my sister and nephew, but for now, this is the update. I don't know if I'll post more about this situation. My friend's wife is telling me I should relax and try not to think about anything related to this until I'm more level-headed, but I don't think that's possible. Update to 11 days later. My sister abandoned her 5-year-old son a little less than 2 weeks ago and fled. The police are looking for her, but she hasn't been found yet. My nephew is with my parents and is in therapy. When this first happened, my parents were quick to blame me because I had refused to babysit him in the past and the weekend before my sister ultimately abandoned him. They think that if I had babysat him that day, she wouldn't have fled. I've been staying with my friends since then, and, oh my god, it's so chill here. They're young parents with a baby, and yet it's calm here. Everyone is happy, they talk things out when there are issues, and they work together. I've met both sets of my friends' parents, and they're nice and polite. Obviously, I don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but I've seen some bickering, and they always find a way to resolve it. Growing up, my parents always argued a lot, my siblings were often loud and cruel to each other, and there always had to be someone to blame. If you were the one blamed, you were insulted and shunned for a while, then they would apologize. You were always expected to forgive and forget. My parents are now trying to apologize to me about their blowout over my sister, and I can understand their initial feelings. I'm willing to forgive, but I know my family will also expect me to forget, and I can't forget. I don't think I can forget this whole situation. So, I'm wondering if I would be wrong if I chose to forgive them but refused to forget this whole thing? Commenter. Your parents are looking for a free babysitter. They're waiting for an opportunity to leave the poor boy with you and claim that he's your responsibility now. Then they'll use the argument that if you had just babysat him like your sister demanded, she wouldn't have abandoned her son. Don't get sucked back in. Tell them that you don't exist to be blamed and that they should try to raise this kid better than they raised his mother.